Hockey's getting itself back geared up and ready to go, and we always like to lean on the experts for the latest info on that one. And hey, the one we thought of right off the bat is our pal Mike Peck from the Rockford IceHogs, who's taken some time on his morning to visit with us. Mike, good morning.
Hey, Riley, Joe, good morning. And this isn't hockey weather, but, I guess we'll get it started again, right?
Yeah, this would be, if this were regular season, we'd be done, wouldn't we?
Yeah, I mean, this would be actually... August is kind of the dead month in hockey because you have the Stanley Cup wrapping up in June. You got free agency and prospect camps in July. And then August is kind of the month where nothing goes on because September is typically when training camp goes on. So this is usually when, in the hockey world, everybody's going out to the lakes and vacations and all that stuff. And obviously this isn't the world we know right now. So it's a little bit different.
Mike, I want to make sure before we get into everything here, I want to make sure I get all my nomenclature correct because sometimes hockey folk can get mad at you if you call something the wrong thing. When the Blackhawks drop the puck tomorrow, is that officially the Stanley Cup Playoffs, or do we have to wait till we get to the final 16 to call?
Man, that's a great question, Joe. You probably could call it. It's a play-in series, is what they're actually calling it. I guess you could say it's the playoffs, right?
Right.
I did watch some video from some scrimmage, or not really scrimmages. I guess they were exhibition games, and they have Stanley Cup playoffs logos on the ice.
Okay.
So I guess you could say they're the Stanley Cup playoffs, and but I guess technically what they're doing, and it's kind of a cool format. They're doing play-in series for 8 teams. And then the 4 teams that advance will play the top 4 teams in the conference. So, and that, I guess, is the official 16-team playoff field. But, yeah, you could say it's playoffs because it is a best-of-3 series.
And does it? I was going to ask because we've heard different. We've gotten to watch actually what's going on with the NBA bubble. We've gotten to watch what's going on with Major League Baseball getting things together. And other than some real screw ups in Major League Baseball, Florida Marlins looking at you. There's been some real good success stories, like the Cubs, for instance, who have thus far gone infection free, as far as we know.
NBA, they're I think still at 0 positive tests, and NHL still at relatively 0. Correct?
Yeah, I was going to say, what do you hear about how they're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I understand that it's been pretty boring, but it's I think if you are committing to playing, you follow the protocols, and that's exactly what the Miami Marlins did not do, right? At least allegedly.
Right.
Don't go out on the town. And I think with these quote unquote bubbles, I guess the advantages are you're in one place, and you probably establish a routine, and hopefully nobody picks up the COVID. So. The baseball thing, I know people are saying it's flawed because teams are traveling, but I still believe if you are following the protocols that have been put forward, it should hopefully prevent any of this stuff from happening. And once you get reckless, that's when I guess the train comes off the tracks. And so, yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to kind of see how it plays out. I mean, it's easy for us to say when we're not in a bubble for 2.5 months or whatever it's going to be for these teams in the NHL and NBA, but I guess it's one of those commitments. If you're going to commit to playing, you better follow the protocol because I'm a big Minnesota Twins fan, and I would hate to see the season be derailed. I mean, this goes for Cubs fans, White Sox fans, Brewers fans, Cardinals fans. I mean, come on, all these teams are teams that could win the whole thing this year, and how would we feel if the Miami Marlins, because some guys wanted to go out in the town, went out and screwed it up for everybody?
Yeah, I think that was a good warning for a lot of teams out there. What kind of setup are the Blackhawks and the other NHL teams dealing with up in Edmonton and Toronto? Do they have their own floor of a hotel or a condo? Where's everybody staying? How's the travel work? What's the situation up there?
Well, I don't know the exact accommodations. I do know that everybody's got. I don't think they have their own. Each have their own individual hotel, but I don't know exact accommodations if it's their own floor or what. I do know that they are allowed. I believe it's 51 or 52 people in their travel party, and in the NHL, that's immediately 32, 33, 34 players. So the vast majority are players, and he had in the coaches and the training staff. There's not a lot of extra front office people that are there. I know they have a communications person, probably a social media person. Obviously you got your athletic trainers and your equipment managers, stuff like that, and a team doctor, I'm guessing. But after that, I mean, there's not a lot of extra personnel that are on these trips, and it's Edmonton is a little bit different than Toronto. I've never been to Edmonton, but I've heard from guys who have lived there and played there and been through there, and I'm guessing it's probably going to be a little easier to be in a bubble in Edmonton than it will be in Toronto. Toronto's an awesome town, so they may have it a little bit easier in Edmonton.
It's just kind of dull around there. You watch a couple of oil derricks do their thing, maybe a couple of caribou running around, and other than that, it's back to the hotel.
As long as you can prevent yourself from trying to ride a moose or whatever it is up there, you'll be all right. But I do understand that Edmonton is pretty awesome during the summertime. But that's more of the lakes, and it's I guess picture northern Wisconsin type, in with a kind of a little bit bigger city plopped in the middle of it. But it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out.
So let's get a little bit of X's and O's. The Blackhawks played an exhibition game I think 2 nights ago against the St. Louis Blues. Killed them 4-0. That got the Blackhawks fans at a little bit of a frenzy. They're coming in as a 12th seed, the last team in. Did you see them play the other night? How they look, and what are their chances moving on?
Well, so I just saw the highlights. I didn't actually watch the game, and did some reading up on it, afterwards, and. It looked like the Blackhawks, obviously played pretty well. I don't know. It's interesting because this is essentially a new season with the same team. And I know that sounds like, well, yeah, but if you kind of think about it, how many times do you have a new season when the entire team is back because of free agencies and trades and guys retiring or whatever it might be? But everyone's had essentially a full off season. So you kind of have to throw out a lot of last year, just because I think everybody's so well rested and healed, and there's I don't believe there's a lot of momentum that carries over from game to game, just because I think each game carries its own momentum. So there's no momentum from last season. So I think the Hawks, if they can catch fire here, obviously goaltending is going to be extremely important. They could win some games here, and having the play-in round against Edmonton to start things off, I mean, that could help build some confidence for them. And who knows? Who knows? Maybe they can win a couple series here and make things exciting.
So, like baseball, this is one of these things that, you can go ahead and lay out your prognostications and your thoughts on how you think things are going to go. And, looking earlier in the year, these guys were doing it. But all of that is really out the window here because it's a whole new ball game.
Yeah, and you don't know where guys' heads are at, too, or who did what over the last 4 months. I mean, I know everybody was probably trying to keep in shape, but, these guys were pretty limited, too. Gyms haven't been open, right? I mean, it wasn't like back in May, these guys were probably hitting the gym unless they had their own personal gym in their basement, which I'm sure a lot of them do. But you can't really simulate hockey, skating and playing the game. You can't simulate that on a bike or on a treadmill or, lifting weights or even just, stick handling a street ball, in the garage or in the basement. So, it might be a little sloppy here for the first couple of weeks just because I'm sure guys it's going to take some time to get the feel back. But I think that may play well into teams like maybe the Blackhawks who, are right there we're on the fringe of the playoffs, and now they're in this field. They can make some noise.
Bringing it back to hockey or to baseball here for a second, we've heard about the Cubs kind of this season, of just anecdotally, the team bonding. They feel like they look like they're a high school team cheering each other. Anthony Rizzo is keeping guys loose, ready to go. Is there somebody on the Blackhawks team like a Rizzo that can keep things loose? Is the chemistry on the Blackhawks enough to get that kind of we're in it together high school kind of feel go on?
The one guy that would immediately come to mind is Andrew Shaw, and unfortunately Andrew is hurt. He still has his concussion, so he's not on the active roster in Edmonton. But he's a guy for sure that keeps things loose. But I'm sure they have a couple of guys. I mean, hockey players are similar to baseball players in the aspect that they keep it pretty light, and I think that's extremely important, especially in baseball. I mean, that's a grind for sure, even a 60-game schedule when you're with each other nonstop, and that's kind of what these NBA and NHL players are experiencing. They're kind of living the life of Major League Baseball players right now, where they're with their teammates every day, almost nonstop. And these schedules in the NHL and NBA are fairly spread out, relatively speaking, when you compare it to Major League Baseball. So, they're going to need that. They're going to need those guys that can provide some relief in these long stretches.
So you're feeling excited about this, I would have no doubt. I mean, the little preseason or summer camp games that we saw and all that, that's fine, scratches the itch a little bit. But when the puck drops and it actually means something, it should be fun because it's going to be pedal to the metal to the end here.
It is. And, I mean, honestly, it's a great question about the excitement level, Riley, because it's July 31st today, right? So It's like, man, how in the heck, can you get excited for hockey? And I'm very curious and excited to see how it plays out, but I'm definitely in summer mode. So to wrap my head, it's been hard to wrap my head around. Oh, hockey's starting again. So that's definitely been a challenge for me from a mental standpoint to kind of really get juiced up for all this. But I am excited to see how it's going to play out, and hopefully they can make it through the next 2.5 months.
Looking forward to kind of next season and locally here with the IceHogs. How is this? How is this affecting players? Being eligible to play for the Hogs next year. Is there any schedule in place for the IceHogs coming up after this?
So the American Hockey League actually yesterday announced that the season will start no earlier than December 4th for the upcoming season, and I got to imagine that's in lockstep with what the National Hockey League is going to do as well. So it's going to be obviously a loose start date. We will probably play a reduced schedule in Rockford in the American Hockey League. It just all depends, obviously, on when things start. And you guys know this; you've been covering it from the beginning. It's been a situation that changes by the day. So, and it's what's even goofier that I guess you don't really take into consideration very much. It's when you're playing in a 31-team league. I mean, there's teams all over the country and Canada, and there's rules. The rules are different, in California compared to Illinois, compared to New York, to wherever teams are. So it's definitely going to be a challenge to get this thing back up and running again. Are there going to be fans? What's the story with that? And all this is items that we have to work out here over the next couple of months. But it's one of those things. I mean, we're going through with my kid's school. It's like, what's going on in school? Well, this is kind of the plan now, but that could change next week, and it's going to be the same thing with these sports leagues, particularly in the minor leagues, because the one thing that's extremely important to remember is there's no big TV contracts in the AHL. The NHL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, and of course the NFL, they have these behemoth TV deals. I mean, the NFL, are they really going to hurt that much if they don't allow fans in the stadiums this year? Maybe a little bit, but not a whole lot. I mean, they're making billions of dollars. Where in the minor leagues, we rely a lot on fan attendance and that ticket revenue. So, that's again, it's going to be interesting to kind of see how this all plays out.
Will there be any financial relief, maybe coming down from the Big Brother NHL down to the AHL?
So that's a slippery slope too, Joe, because there's I believe out of the 31 teams in the American Hockey League, 16 of them are owned by NHL clubs. Rockford is not one of them. Rockford is owned by the city of Rockford, whereas you have, several other teams. Actually, most of the teams in the Midwest are independently owned. So I don't know how that would work. If, for example, out west, all the teams out west are owned by the NHL team. So San Jose has a team in San Jose. They're already supplementing the American Hockey League team. So for them, they probably wouldn't bat an eye, but in other situations, it might be a little bit different.